Peter King, kind enough to join us once again here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Peter?
Hey, Rich, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. So how did Bob Kraft sound to you?
I would say defiant, somewhat angry, and mostly just has had absolute certainty that basically that he feels the Patriots have gotten jobbed by the NFL office and by the Ted Wells report.
So the question of his relationship with the commissioner, you'll have to ask him, is what he told you. How serious is this? I mean, for long-lasting effect for the league, for the commissioner? I mean, is this everyone's making this out to be this is as serious as it's ever gotten, regardless of anything else that's gone down with the Saints and whatever went down with Ray Rice. Do you believe that this is the pinnacle right now?
Well, I think there certainly is a rift, especially as, from Kraft's side. But, anytime something like this happens, anytime some mega story happens like this, I think it's always dangerous to judge something with finality. I mean, Bob Kraft simply does not have the Al Davis gene in him. Bob Kraft is a conciliatory human being in general. Now, I'm not saying that this is ever going to be fine. I don't mean that. But I'm skeptical that this is the end of the relationship between Robert Kraft and Roger Goodell. I think it's certainly on the rocks and should be on the rocks. But I'm not sure that this is the end between the two men.
Peter King joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. That said, when you asked him if he would sue based on whatever's going on, and everybody expects this appeal to just keep things status quo in terms of the punishment, he said, I'm not going to comment on that at this point in time. I'm going to leave it. I won't say. So the door is clearly open with that no comment, Peter. Right?
I expected more of a definitive answer there, Rich. Not necessarily not a final answer, but I expected him to lean me one way or the other on that one, and he didn't. Now, I think because really, as I say, I can't imagine Robert Kraft, of all the owners in the league. I mean, there's a bunch of owners I could imagine going rogue and pulling an Al Davis. Very hard for me to imagine Robert Kraft doing that. He just doesn't seem like the kind who is going to draw a line between him and the NFL. The NFL has been great to him. Hey, he's been great to the NFL, too. So just my gut feeling right now, I think he'll strongly consider it. When push comes to shove, my gut feeling is that he probably won't sue the NFL. He probably won't go outside the family.
And then another exchange that you recounted in your MMQB. I'm with Peter King here on the Rich Eisen Show after Peter chatted with Robert Kraft on Saturday. You asked him the question that so many people are wondering, and that if the two employees of the Patriots, Jim McNally and Jastrzemski, if they did nothing wrong, then why have these gentlemen been suspended without pay? You asked that of Robert Kraft, and he said, you said in this quote-unquote, he refused comment for what he claimed were a variety of reasons. Can you put a little bit more meat on that bone for me, Peter? What were the reasons he told you?
I can't, I don't know, Rich, but if you're asking me to form an opinion
sure.
On this, I'll tell you what my opinion is, and that is that there are some times when you know that the league is looking at you with a jaundiced eye, in this particular case, and you want to basically say to the league, okay, look, we'll play ball with you, we'll cooperate, and we'll throw these guys overboard. And, we'll suspend these guys and get rid of them, in the spirit of fair play with the league office. Now, if indeed that's what went through their head as they made this decision, it certainly didn't end up helping them any, because clearly I can't see how the penalty would have been any worse if the Patriots weren't, if the Patriots basically had said, we're standing behind these guys and we're not suspending.
So, but now comes the meeting of the membership. And, as powerful an individual as Mr. Kraft is, and he is certainly that, he's still just one of 32 members of the National Football League that's going to be descending upon San Francisco. I'm keen to hear from other owners that are going to be having microphones put in front of them. If most of them say, hey, yes, we there, but for the grace, could any of us gone if there's a Ted Wells report on all of us, but we are still part of the same clubs that paid for the Wells report and have to live with the results, then where does Mr. Kraft have to go? I'm keen to hear what the rest of the owners are going to say. What about you, Peter?
Rich, I think that most owners probably, underline probably, are going to have the feeling of, look, we aren't privy to all the information involved. The league office probably has some information that we're not privy to. Plus, I think a lot of owners are going to basically say that, look, this is the evidence that has to be judged in a case like this is evidence that would more be suited to a civil trial rather than a criminal trial. In other words, you don't have to have guilty beyond the shadow of a doubt. You just have to have a 51 to 49% burden of proof there. So I'm sure that a bunch of owners are just basically going to say, hey, listen, I'm not getting involved in that. It's not my bailiwick. But I do think Kraft will get some support in San Francisco. I do think there will be quite a few owners who will sympathize with him because, Rich, I read this report thoroughly and went back and read several parts of it over again, and I still have not seen the smoking gun. I see things that look bad for the Patriots. I don't see any direct evidence that Tom Brady said to either of those guys, make sure that the footballs are put down significantly below 12.5.
So do you think that there's any wiggle room for the commissioner to split the baby
think,
here?
Rich, as I've thought of this, the one aspect of this is, like, if I were Roger Goodell and I met with Tom Brady at some point in the next 10 days, let's say, to hear his appeal, I might say, look, if you dropped all appeals and if the Patriots drop this right now, we'll lower your suspension to 1 game and we'll keep everything else intact, or 2 games. I don't know what it is. And then we'd see if the Patriots or Brady would want to do that. I have no idea if that is on their agenda or on their thought. Then maybe Roger Goodell is going to say, I am not budging on this at all. But to me, this is too ugly with the chance to be too sordid for too long for Roger Goodell to not try to make a deal to make it go away.
Before I let you go, what else is going to be discussed on Wednesday that you think is going to have? Do you think they're going to mess with the extra point or change it?
Tuesday at 2:30 Pacific time.
Yep.
The membership is going to hear 3 reports or 3 proposals for what to do with the extra point. One is a New England proposal, one is a Philadelphia proposal, and one is the league proposal. The Philadelphia proposal is probably the most interesting one because that one proposes putting if you try for 2 points after a touchdown, you go from the 1-yard line. The New England proposal and the league proposal are both, you have to be at the 2-yard line to go for 2 points. It's a very simple reason why the competition committee proposal is from the 2. I think they feel that there would be too much potential of injury if there's too many scrums involving quarterback sneaking and quarterback leaping at the goal line, and they don't want to risk potential injury in that way. So I don't think that they'll advance the ball to the 1-yard line for this. My gut feeling is that one of the 3 is going to pass, and if I had to put a tote board up, I would say the competition committee proposal has the best odds to pass.
And what about the Los Angeles market? Is that on the docket, Peter?
Yeah, there's definitely going to be discussion. Eric Rubman is going to be there, and I think he's going to brief the owners on this. I think they're further along than we know right now, and I think that there's going to be some talk of a potential San Diego stadium proposal. And so I think that is a very, very fluid situation. And as has been the case since March, since the league meetings in March, the St. Louis Rams and Stan Kroenke are the furthest team down the road. And they're also the team that has the best situation in its home market because Kroenke, if he chose to stay, could get a new riverfront stadium built in St. Louis. I just don't believe that Stan Kroenke wants to stay in St. Louis.
Peter, thanks for the time. Really appreciate it. Great job as always. Thank you.
Hey, really appreciate it, Rich. Thank you.
You bet. That's Peter King.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern. On Audience.